I would love to see your guys' faces, if possible.
And I enabled screen sharing if we were gonna, what's it called? It share the document or whatever. So do you want me to share or do you want to share?
Share that doc. Oh, okay. Do we want to do that, or do we want to just ask people about their experiences?
Oh yeah, we can just talk. But y'all put a lot in that doc, so I was like,
it wasn't me. Other people putting stuff in there. Actually.
Oh, okay.
Were you not the one that added the pictures? I was like, how did you get pictures of their slides?
Oh yeah, I took screenshots because that was kind of important. Also, they should be sending out like information about how to access recordings to the videos and stuff. So
I would love that. I would really love that.
Yeah, I think they definitely recorded this stuff. Like, it's just gonna be. It's just a matter of hearing back from them about it.
Okay. I was gonna say because I remember like at the same time which we had like our specific like SNMA meeting, we was also got a meeting based around like business and that just like medicine. I'm just like I'm very interested in this. I wish I could like see it.
Sorry, guys. I'm looking for the. Oh, is it in the AMEC folder? I'm looking for the doc. I actually didn't put my notes on the doc, but I can just say them out loud. Okay, but anyways, regardless, let us begin. So I hope you guys loved AMEC. I thought it was a great experience. I hope you guys got out of it as much as I did, and I'm sure our e-board members feel the same. I think that there were a lot of really great sessions, and I think that there were a lot catered toward pre-meds, toward medical school, toward clinical sessions. So I hope that you all found something out of it. You got something out of it. I also I talked to some medical schools. I don't know if anyone else did. And I really enjoyed that experience. I feel like I learned a lot from talking to each medical school about their mission. And I would love for you guys to talk about some of your favorite moments, some of your favorite meetings, some of your favorite webinars, anything that you really loved about AMEC, because we just want to hear about your experience. Who wants to start off?
I can go if nobody. Oh wait, Dab, you got it. No, you can literally go. I was only going because nobody volunteered.
Hey, I mean ladies first, right?
All right. I was just gonna say I think networking at AMEC is always really good, especially in person, but virtual was also really nice because I think over the weekend on Saturday, I did they sent an email if you want your personal statement to be reviewed. So I did that and I connected with, she's a resident now, but she graduated from UMichigan Medical School. And she was really helpful and gave me really good feedback. And now I can contact her for whatever. She's I will answer any of your questions about medical school and everything. So that was a good connection I made. And then I connected with another med student that goes to Meharry because I saw that she had Meharry in her little, the little information thing that, I don't know, her little headline or whatever. So I chatted her just on a whim just because Meharry's one of the schools I'm interested in. And she replied to me and we actually video chatted Monday for a very long time. So I feel those are two really good connections that I made. And yeah, I feel the networking was really good this weekend.
I can add on to that because I also did that whole networking thing. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, I only really networked with one person because it's supposed to be it was supposed to be a 3-minute thing. You can network with someone for 3 minutes, but we ended up talking for over an hour and just kept hitting extend. But she just had the same interests as me. She was not in med school yet, but she did her master's and was in the process of applying and everything. And it was just nice talking to somebody who's like in a similar process. And also she was a board member for SNMA. So she had like a position up there and like knew more about it and just had really good insight. And so I just couldn't imagine how networking would have been in person. Like that would have been an amazing experience. But like nonetheless, it was like nice to also network virtually.
Was anyone else able to network or meet with any medical schools? Do you want to talk about your experience?
I can talk about mine. So I got on the network thing. I didn't know you could extend it. So we were all like, every time I matched with someone, we were trying to like finish what we were saying before we got cut off because it like automatically kicks you out. But I talked to one person that stood out to me was like this one person. She looked really young, but she like went to like did some business and then decided to like, she was very non-traditional, I guess, in her path to go to med school. So I thought that was like super interesting. And so I definitely like learned a lot about like how to kind of build that endurance to last a long time because she took a different path before she even decided on going to med school. So like either way, you still have to have like a lot of endurance. So she really helped me out with that. And I like that you can like still go back into the conference and like see all the people that you connected with and like interact with them and like email them and all that. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, does anyone else have any other experiences that they want to share?
Yeah, an event that I really enjoyed was the MD versus DO panel that they had. Because I kind of like I came into like I know that there's so many different pathways when it comes to going into health professions, and I came into the panel not really knowing what a DO was. Like I've heard about it so much, but not really knowing like how it differs from being an MD and like why that path is out there. And like the panel was really interesting because they the three DO positions, they really like went about breaking about like the stereotypes and the misconceptions about being like a DO pathway. Like I know one of the DOs, she mentioned how people tend to think of being a DO as like being like a chiropractor, and she really like was really like against that whole entire opinion because like being a chiropractor and being a DO is like completely two different things. And just breaking down those those ideas that people have was really interesting to see. And yeah, so I just thought that was like really cool how it's like there's so many different pathways out there, and MD is not like the one option. There's all other different ways to become a physician and kind of meet those different types of goals that a person may have. So, yeah.
Honestly,
Great.
oh,
No, I go.
I was just gonna say, I wish I attended that event because I feel like in my heart, me and Tempest actually talked about this. Like in my heart, I think I would be a better fit for DO, but the prestige of MD. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like I would be a better doctor if I were a DO. And also my current doctor is a DO, like, and my previous one was an MD and he was trash. So I just like saw the difference in terms of my care being being a DO. But yeah, I'm probably gonna watch that recording.
Yeah, Faith, I've been also thinking about this because I feel like DO, like for people who approach healthcare with more of a public health mindset, I feel like DO, like the holistic aspect of care, is very appealing and sort of like, I feel like what we're taught, if you like look at healthcare from a public health aspect. But I feel like I've heard a lot that DOs, like it's possibly like harder to get jobs and like it's just like a harder field to go into. And I was wondering if they touched on that and if they said anything about that. If you remember. If you don't, I understand.
I'm not remembering, but I feel as though like when you said that, like I feel as though like they did touch upon that, but I don't remember exactly what they mentioned.
No worries.
Sorry, I didn't get to attend that panel, but like I've been looking more into DO and I follow like DO physicians on Instagram and stuff. And then like, one of them did like a compare and contrast thing, and she was saying how like it's really not that different with getting the jobs, and like the salaries are like pretty similar. And honestly, like I feel like you wouldn't know they were DO unless they told you they were DO because they still have a doctor in front of their name. I guess my only because I've also been like looking more into it, but my only concern was Dio is like fairly newer. So like to right camera. Okay. Dio is like fairly new. So like with international working internationally is why my issue is because Dio is not as common outside of America. So like it's like especially like I don't know, maybe in Europe it may be common, but like outside of just America, it's like harder. I feel like it would be harder to get a job and like harder to have credibility and stuff. So that's where my concern is because I'm interested in like working abroad too, like back home and stuff. So yeah, that's my only like scout with Dio.
No, thank you. That's actually really helpful. Does anyone else have any other experiences they want to share? Any talks that they went to that they loved? Anything really? I just want to hear like how you guys all thought about it, especially since like it was virtual this year. So yeah, just would like to hear.
Yeah, so an interesting talk for me was Dr. Ryan Gray, where he just talked about like the med school process. Because I don't know, I started listening to some of his podcasts last semester, so I don't really know what he looked like. So I saw him for the first time, and I did not expect him to look like that. But it was a pretty interesting talk, and it was pretty cool to have him there.
Yeah, no, he actually makes like a lot of, he does these like like when you guys are closer to applying, he does these like med school renovation videos or something. I don't know, he just like goes through them, but basically I like based my whole committee letter application by just like just watching those videos because they're actually super duper helpful. So yeah, I highly recommend in the future, like when you guys are closer to applying, or if you guys are right now, to check out those videos. I think he said there's like 40, but honestly, I only watched one, but I'm sure the rest are great. Does anyone else have any other things to share?
Dr. Gray. I'm such a big fan. Like I've been watching his videos since like sophomore year. Like I was kind of fangirly because he answered my question in the Q&A. I was like, I don't really know what else I had to say about that. I thought I had something like really structured to say about that. Yeah. Oh, he has books. He has really I actually haven't read his books, but I feel like they're good. I might buy one.
Oh yeah, he was really promoting it. Also, he said in the chat, like if you can't afford the book, if you just email him, he will send you a PDF of the book. Now, I don't have his email, but I can look into that.
He also has a site called mapped.com, like I can type it in there. Okay, I don't know if it's .com, but it's mapped like MAPPD. And it's like you can build your whole application profile on there. And this is especially helpful for people who are like 2 or like more years out away, like 2 up to 5 years out from applying. So I feel like it wouldn't be as helpful for the people who are like applying right now, but like for the people who are farther out, I have it, but you have to pay like a subscription fee, like an annual subscription fee, but it's like really helpful. Like you can put all your information on there, and they also give you like feedback periodically, and then you get added. They also have a Facebook group with Dr. Ryan Gray where he will like you can just post your question on the Facebook page and he will personally answer your question. There's other people also who are on the team who would answer your questions too, and they have like an Ask the Dean session like frequently, like a frequent thing. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so you can go on that, but on AMEC, like my experience, I was like kind of lost for some time, so I couldn't like attend some of the sessions I wanted to, but I thought it was interesting how like they focus more on like I felt like this time like there was like focus more on like how race affects health and stuff, and they had different sessions pertaining to that, and I really liked that. And it was like super interesting. The session was Ron Lags, even though I felt like he didn't really get to talk as much, and it was more like the doctor talking. It was still like an interesting session, and there was other sessions too, but
Sorry, there's like a helicopter near me, but yeah, no, I also noticed that they were really focused on like race-based medicine and talking about the yeah, just like race in medicine and all aspects in both conversations and other aspects. Oh my god, this chat is blowing up. Oh yes, we do appreciate you, Yacht. We do. Uh, um, um, does anyone else have any other conferences that they went to or any other thing that they loved that they want to share?
Yeah, I can share. I went to a couple different like interesting talks or whatever. I went to the Beat the Test, the MCAT like skills building workshop. And it wasn't like revolutionary material, but the two people who were talking were really amazing. So one woman, she was a doctor. Her name was Cameron Matthews, Dr. Cameron Matthews. She's a JD and an MD. And the whole time I was like, how the heck did she do that? So like her bio, she's like only in her 40s, but her bio is like incredible. And so was the other doctor who's like her best friend. And her name is Renee Darko. But yeah, they're both like super goated like doctors. And I was like, just them speaking to me, I was like, whatever you're saying, I'm gonna just listen because obviously y'all know what y'all talking about. But yeah, I put their names and stuff in the AMC like Google Doc, so that's why there's all that writing in there. And then I went to another session, and it was basically talking about like how to be more inclusive about gender identities, and like in medicine. And so like the doctor who was speaking, she had done this like case report or case study, and she was talking about how like there's this person who came into the emergency room, and they had said that they were transgender, right? And they were having abdominal pain, and none of the doctors could figure out like what was the issue. And then eventually, like a doctor came into the room, had like checked their labs, and was like, oh, like this person is male presenting, but they had a lab result that was like congruent with being pregnant. And so the doctor asked, is there any possibility you're pregnant? Like, I know, yeah. So I don't know. I don't want to use the wrong terminology. So like, I'm trying to be careful. But basically, the person ended up being pregnant, and none of the other doctors like knew that until that other doctor came into the room. And so like this person, this transgender male, had a baby. It was a stillborn, unfortunately. But the doctor was like using that as like an example of how like you need to be asking the correct questions. And while a person's identity as being transgender is not always applicable to like treating them, like if they have a cold, then being transgender doesn't really matter. But if they have stomach pains, it might matter. So you have to be more inclusive with your language, and you have to know what certain terms mean. And then there was a medical student who was transgender talking to us as well, and they're just answering a lot of questions. But I just thought it was like a really good panel. I know we're not medical students yet, but I think just like being aware of like those kind of situations and like trying to learn that stuff now was like super helpful.
Yeah, no, you're super right. And I think especially when it comes to like being more gender conscious and racially conscious and all these things, like it starts from, now. It starts from as early as you can get, and it's a lifelong process. So yeah, that's incredible that you went to that. Honestly, I did not know that that panel was going on. So I definitely think I'm gonna like watch the recording of that. Does anyone else have anything they want to share?
Yes, I went to a panel where I got to hear from a doctor who had just finished med school and started his intern year. He went through a challenge where he didn't match immediately, so he had to go through this process called SOAP, which is where you have to sort of go through another round of interviews in order to find a residency position. And his journey was really unique because he had to, in between his med school and his residency, he had to work really hard in order to find a position and to find mentors and contacts who would help him get to the next step. And it was just really interesting hearing that, because I know we all like assume that everyone like matches immediately and just goes on to the next step, but that's not always the case. And it was really interesting hearing how he overcame that and how he got into the specialty that he wanted and everything. So
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. That's so crazy. And that's actually true. Like there's a big push now to like, they're saying like if to not make more I think that like maybe they're making more med school spots or something. And a lot of med students are like, well, if you do that, you should make more residency spots, because they're like making more med student spots, but they're not increasing the number of residency spots. And that is so problematic.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who wants to share their experience?
Yeah, I can go. So one of the panels that I really liked was like the applying to medical school one with Dr. Gibbs. And I don't really know about like the personal statement process before this. So just like thinking about like how you can tell your story from like your life experiences or like people that you meet, and like how that like incited your like love for medicine and like why you want to explore it. Like I found that to be really interesting, and also like the cliches to avoid. And then she said like it's okay if you have cliches, but you have to like explain like this, like not, you can't just say like medicine is like a caring profession. Like yes it is, but also like explaining like what that means to you and like why that medical school needs you. And I thought that was like really important, because it's not just, oh, I want to go to XYZ medical school, like why do they need you specifically? And I found that to be really powerful.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I feel like, as someone in the process of writing her personal statement, it's definitely not what you think. It's, when I first went into doing this, I sort of thought it was like similar to the Common App essay that we wrote to get into college. But that's more of like a narrative, and what they want for med school is actually more of an argumentative essay. Like you're literally selling yourself. So yeah, it's definitely, I also attended that workshop and I thought it was really helpful. And for any of you who are interested in writing your personal statements soon, I recommend looking at the recording of that. And we also had a personal statement workshop previously with the Dean of Admissions for Hopkins Med. He sort of went through what they're looking for. And I believe that's on our YouTube channel. So if you guys want to like have some inspiration, get the deets, check that out. Does anyone else have anything? If no one does, I can also go, because I went to a few actually, and I went to one that I thought I really wanted to share with you guys because it was so unique. It was with, I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Jennifer Caudle is, but basically she's this sort of like famous doctor, and she appears on like Dr. Oz and CNN and like all of these Fox News. Like she's always on all these media outlets just talking about medicine, and she's a family doctor, I think, and she talked about basically merging medicine with media. And I wanted to share that with you because I think I didn't really think about medical media before this talk, but for any of those interested in media, like it definitely is a thing. And a lot of organizations like Dr. Oz, I'm pretty sure they take medical students now so that they can get like hands-on experience reporting media. And ABC News has their own medical unit. So I think if you like call ABC News, you could do a rotation at ABC News basically. And you're like creating your own packages of like health stories, like 3-minute health stories. Like all of these right now, they're really focused on coronavirus. So like there'll be 3 minutes of like somebody talking and saying stats about COVID while you're probably seeing images or videotapes of like hospital emergency departments or like hospital rooms. So I thought that that was like really just a unique way, like if you guys are really interested in doing media or merging, like if you like to write articles. She also talked about the way that she got started, which was basically she heard that there was a rotation, and then she called ABC News and asked if she can rotate there, and that was sort of jump started her career. And whenever she got the opportunity to, she would write for like various columns. So one column she wrote, she like called a New Jersey newspaper and like wrote a column on why kids or like the effects of a heavy backpack on children going to school or like walking to school. So if any of you guys are interested in that, definitely check that out. And like she said, like follow other people on social media, DM them, figure out like how to get it in, and it would be super helpful. And she's really responsive. So if you want to message her and DM her, that would be great. Does anyone else have anything they want to share? I can keep going, but I'm just gonna keep the floor open.
I can kind of talk about my experience. So I'm honestly not really interested. So I'm thinking of pursuing an MD PhD. leaning more towards the PhD aspect. Prior to like a year or two ago, I had absolutely no interest in MD. So my experience probably doesn't apply to most of you. A lot of the sections that I went to during AMEC only had like 10, 12 people in them. So it was kind of like more of an intimate situation than like the larger sections. We kind of got the opportunity to like talk to them one-on-one and get a lot of our questions answered. Some of those, the sessions that I went to were like, so you're planning on pursuing a dual degree. There was a section for MD, PhD. And a lot of those also had like the same people. So you were seeing like multiple people multiple times, but that was cool. My main goal coming into it, since I'm not really interested in the MD portion as much as other people, was kind of just to make good connections and to kind of like have people that I could talk to if like I needed advice or if I became more interested in the MD part in the future. So I kind of spent most of my time like in the networking section. I think I met Niat's mentor, possibly, I'm not sure. But yeah, so I just sent out a lot of emails after, and that was pretty much it. But overall, I had like a really good time. I'm part of Jump, so I've been kind of waiting to do this for like 4 years now. And I finally got to go. Also did not know it was for minorities. So kind of came in during that opening session. I was like, wow, there's a lot of Black people here. So it was definitely fun.
Wait, which mentor? Like associate?
Yeah, so like, yeah,
Oh.
we were in the networking thing and I basically was just like fangirling because I was like, girl, your makeup is so nice. Like, how do you do it? Please tell me. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm super glad that you had that experience and that you, even though you weren't fully MD, that you still had a really great time. I think that's a big like pro I always see with AMEC. I feel like they really do have like networking opportunities and just programming catered to all different types of applicants, even non-traditional applicants. They always have like a workshop for them, which I think is super nice because you get to meet, different people and people who you can connect with. Does anyone else have any experience that they want to share? If not, I can talk about more things that I did because I actually did sort of a lot. I went hard on Saturday. I also networked, which I thought was really helpful. And I want to just say this for those of you who are interested in attending AMEC next year, definitely take advantage of networking if you are close to applying. So if you are, like, I will be applying in June. And so, like, the year you're applying, essentially, definitely take advantage of networking because they will literally give you their email and be like, email me and I'll pass it along. Before it may not, I think it's always like helpful to build networking skills, but I don't know if it would be super relevant, like if you're not applying, but definitely like the year you're applying, make sure you network because, they're looking for kids like us. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everyone in this room is very accomplished and is like doing a lot and is very passionate about what they're doing. So they definitely want that at their med school. So I would definitely recommend that. And oh yeah, Taylor.
So I just wanted to say something about that, like in terms of networking. I'm not going to be applying for like a couple of years because I'm taking like gap years and stuff. I think it's important to network even now. Like I went to a couple of medical school sessions, like those expos, and even though I'm not applying, they were still like, we can do like shadowing days, or like I'm looking for like research opportunities, stuff like that, things that I can do in between or even during the summer. And they were basically like, I'll give you my email and you can talk to me and we'll figure something out for you. Like, I don't think it really matters when. you can always get something out of it. It's always good to make connections with people.
Yeah, you bring up actually a really great point that I forgot. But yes, if you want like opportunities, literally, if you just like go to any expo, like let's say you want to do something at UCLA, I'm just making up a random school. If you go to UCLA's med school booth and you're like, I'm really interested in doing this kind of research, they will like literally give you a research opportunity. Like it is super easy, honestly, because I feel like they just know that everyone attending AMEC is like super hardworking and super accomplished. Like, you know, we're literally there at the conference. So that's a great point that you brought up, Taylor. Yes. And does anyone else have anything they want to add?
I could talk about what presenting was like. That was interesting. I honestly am surprised that I won. I'm gonna be honest, because I don't know, those of you guys that went, I literally was just reading off my poster. But they didn't know that. If I was like in person, I definitely would have had to practice more. But I feel like what they probably maybe more so focus on like the project, which is why they liked it. There were people who had like very interesting stuff, and I was really shook that they chose mine, because people were doing really amazing things, and I was more in the category of like social sciences, public health, and clinical. And so there were a wide variety of things of like what people were doing, like related from like cognitive stuff, like with like word choice, and with like related to race and like health stuff. And I don't know, there were so many things that what people were doing. And you guys can, I think those recordings are available too, so you can like watch it. But definitely present at AMEC for those of you guys who are planning on going in the future. Like there are medical students who present too, so you can present as a medical student. And if you do win, there is like a monetary prize technically, so that's also a plus if you want to do that. That wasn't my motive. I just wanted to present and share like the work that I do with HCC because I'm so passionate about it. But yeah, definitely highly recommend.
Yes, Neon one. I was so happy. Yeah, you totally deserved it. Your project and your presenting skills were amazing. I watched it. I was there. Yeah, but echoing that, definitely present at AMEC. Like it's an opportunity to present and meet people. And I feel like opportunities to present, sometimes they can be out of the way. Like certain conferences might be in different places and you have to pay out of pocket to go if you don't get a grant, and it can be like a hassle. So definitely, like if you're already going to AMEC, you could just present. It would be a good time. You might even win. So yes, did anyone else present? Wasn't sure.
I don't think so. There weren't that many undergraduate students.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, in the future, we will change that. I'm counting on you guys. Does anyone else have any other experiences that they want to talk about?
One of the sessions that I went to, which is not as exciting as everyone else's experiences and like winning the poster thing that Neot did, but it was very informational. They had like people higher up from like each of the medical application services. So there was like 3 different ones. There was, I think it was like AMCAS, and then like the Texas one, and I forget the last one, but they talked about a lot about how the application works, the timeline, and all that stuff that I was like really nervous about, even though it's like still a long ways away for me. And I just found it to be super informational. So I definitely recommend that to anyone who's like applying or thinking of applying in the next couple of years, because it was super informational. And they also like, one thing that really stood out to me is how they tried to make it affordable, and like they talked about the costs and different waivers you could get for each of the programs and what that provided you, as well as like how students have been taking advantage of those opportunities with COVID.
Yeah, no, I echo that. I also went to a lot of like these informational sessions, and I thought they were really helpful. And they kind of like put everything in a nice simple timeline, and it made like all this information a lot easier to digest. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Yeah, there was one session I attended. It was like the ABC, they said American Flag Cardiologist or whatever. First of all, I didn't even know that was an organization that existed. So it was cool to know that that exists. And they seem like they were talking about like how like just like reach out to us and we would love to help you out and whatever. And like they gave out like waivers to for the organization and stuff. And also like one of the technicians, he had work, so he went into his work, and it was kind of like ended up being like a shadowing session because they had technical issues. So he was just like, let me just show you all the things that I work with. And like he had like his scrubs on and everything, and it was just like, oh, this was unexpected. It kind of just happened because he just happened to have like work that he didn't expect, and like there was technical issues, so he just stepped in. So it was like that was cool to see.
Oh, that was nice that he like let you guys, he just, took you guys with him. That is so crazy. Oh, people are so kind though at AMEC. Ah. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I guess I can like talk about like the networking part. I kind of talked about it in the chat, but again, like I think somebody else said, like we just like kept extending and extending for a really long time and just like renewing it. And like I really liked like the connections aspect because afterwards you can see everybody that you connected with. And one of the people that I met that was like very, very inspiring, like we just talked about like all of our passions about like community service and like what it means to be a part of like I was talking about like the Hopkins community and like the relationship with Baltimore. So that's something that struck with her because she's currently in Philadelphia. So like we were talking about that and like how she's like navigating as like a med school student. And I thought it was really interesting to talk about like what it means to be like a student, but also like contributing to service in the city that you're in. So I really like that. And then she gave me her number, which was really, really cool. And I just want to emphasize for people that are like nervous about networking that the people at AMEC and like all of these conferences are there for you and for you to learn from them and like connect with them. So that's something that I had to get over, but definitely like keep it in your heart that like you deserve to be there and they just want to help you.
Yes, I agree. Network, network, network. They also are just like so willing to help. Like, I mean, it sort of seems like I feel like at first before I networked, I thought like, oh my God, I'm burdening them with my issues, my questions, my life. But yeah, no, they really want to help and they want to like give back and pay it forward. So yeah, definitely network. Does anyone else have anything to add? I have something quick to add actually. I was listening, I don't remember what workshop I was listening to be honest, but I feel like it was the one with like the dean of admissions to Stanford or something. I don't know. But she was talking about, so I think someone asked her a question about COVID. And I just wanted to share like what her response was. I think that they understand that COVID is like it's put a strain on applications. And there's obviously like there are just some things that you can't do. It's a pandemic, so like a lot of people couldn't do a lot of clinical, like they couldn't go to the hospital. And just like life was hard, but they want to just see that you are still passionate about something, you know what I mean, that you're still doing something. Like this pandemic happened, but that didn't stop you necessarily. Maybe you couldn't volunteer at the hospital, but you chose to teach COVID to like your community, or you chose to help at vaccine sites. They just want to see that you still had interest in something, or your organization shifted from helping people with health insurance to helping people get, I don't know, appointments. They just want to see that you like were still somewhat engaged during this time. I don't know if that's for all med schools, but that was just what she said. And I thought I should share. Does anyone else have any other talks that they went to that they want to share?
Oh, and I think I took notes on the Stanford one that you were talking about. So if people want to look at what I wrote on that, I think it's in that doc that I sent in the group me. But I was just going to emphasize what Sarah said about the whole networking thing. Like, I feel like, over a screen, it's less intimidating, but like in person, I definitely, I'm going to have to work on that personally too, like being able to network in person. But I definitely network. Like someone gave me their phone number out of networking too, and it was like offering me to help like with like thinking about gap year opportunities. So definitely, definitely highly encourage that. Oh yeah, and someone also randomly messaged me on Instagram, was like, hey, I saw your presentation, blah, blah, blah. And so like, yeah, definitely network.
Yeah, to celebrate you guys.
Taylor?
I just wanted to add on to the like networking comment. Cause like personally I'm like an introvert. So like calling Pizza Hut for pizza is like stress level 10 for me. But like in terms of networking, it's very useful in the long run. And also the people that you're talking to are human too. So like if you feel uncomfortable with networking, sometimes the other person that you're talking to will feel uncomfortable too, and then you guys can just bond off of that. So like sometimes you get really good things out of it, even if it's not like an opportunity. Like you might just gain like not even just like a mentor or just somebody like to talk to and like relate on things.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's totally true. Like they're probably equally as nervous, honestly. Because a lot of times, like if they're admissions, they probably don't actually, they just read a lot of applications. I don't know if they're talking to that many people, like all of these students who are coming to talk with to them. So yeah. And it takes practice, like I feel like when I was a freshman, I do not think I could have networked well. I just didn't have those skills. But here we are 4 years later, and there's still a lot more that I need to work on. But it's good experience to practice, just like being comfortable talking to people, thinking of questions to ask, learning how to like follow up with them. It's definitely a skill set. Does anyone have anything else? Any other events that they went to that they want to talk about?
I thought it was interesting how they had the conversation between Ron Lax, which is I think the grandson of Henrietta Lacks, and like I don't know if she was like a Hopkins IM. She was somebody high up in Hopkins IM. I thought that was a really interesting conversation. I'm trying to like remember the main points of it. Oh, but basically I think Hopkins, like the hospital, reached out to his family and were like trying to get them to like I don't know, trying to like get them more like comfortable with healthcare because they obviously have this aversion, which is understandable. But I thought it was interesting because I don't know if they were compensated by Hopkins, like still, like that was my question throughout this. I was like, were they given money from the hospital? But I guess it was just, I thought it was great to know that Hopkins like sort of followed up with the family and is trying to get them more acclimated, I guess, to healthcare environments because they still live in Baltimore and everything. And another session that I missed, like I came at the end and everybody was like, oh, this was so great. And I was like, dang, I missed it, was the imposter syndrome talk. Anybody went to that, I would love to hear about it because I was like really sad I missed it. But yeah, I think AMEC is just so interesting because you see so many aspects of healthcare. So I thought it was really great.
Did anyone go to the imposter syndrome talk? I think I didn't because there was another talk at the same time that I went to. Anyone go? I can talk a little bit more about some other ones I went to. I went to this one called Straight Talk with Dr. L, the remix. But basically, it discussed how to have crucial conversations. And basically, the takeaway points are consider the timing and location of your discussion. Some discussions need to be with more than one person. Discuss with the person who has the ability and authority to address your concern and consider a third party. Now, at first, when I went to it, I was a little bit not confused, but I felt like in my undergraduate experience, I don't know. I feel like I personally haven't had that many crucial conversations. So I was a little confused, like who this was catered for. And then hearing people ask questions and stuff, I realized that I think, especially as like people of color, as we go further along in the medical school journey, unfortunately, I think microaggressions become a lot more common. And there's a lot of like, especially when you go to residency, people hear things that it really does upset them that their attending says, especially because some attendings are like not of the same generation and they may not be with the times. And so it's really important. The purpose of this talk was sort of to like get yourself equipped with tools for how to respond to these situations that you may be in. And something she was saying was that it's if your attending says something it's that you find problematic, like it would be good if you can sit down and have a private conversation with them, because like she had that experience. And when she did have the private talk with that doctor, he actually he was like, oh my god, I can't believe that I said that, like I totally I will send out like an email, or you know what I mean, like was very apologetic about it. And so a tool that she said to use is like whenever you hear something sort of problematic, to respond with curiosity. So like if they say something, you can be like, okay, for instance, she used this example, like, you don't look like a doctor, or like that foreign doctor was already in here asking me questions, or you remind me of the little girl who does my nails. And like if you want to respond to that, you can be like, what do you mean by that? I'm wearing a white coat, I have an MD badge, like what did you mean by that? And that's like a really easy way. Usually they'll think and be like, oh no, I meant this. And so yeah, that is something that I thought was a really interesting talk. And then I don't know if you guys went to this. I went to the Racism as a Public Health Crisis, Dissecting Race-Based Medicine. It was like the plenary, but I don't actually know what plenary means, but whatever. And I actually really enjoyed it. I'm sure like those of you who are public health majors probably like know a lot about this, but as a neuroscience major who's just like interested, I thought it was really great. And it really emphasized like how important it is that we need to like challenge and change these algorithms. Like the more that I learn about these algorithms, like I don't know if you guys know about that glomerular filtration rate thing. That thing is crazy. I learned about that at AMEC actually. And like they literally have a calculation for race, and basically Black people, like I think they have higher scores. So as a result, they're like not getting kidney transplants or dialysis or any of their treatments just because of this like extra sum, which should not be there.
Oh,
I'm like,
I did a blood test, it said it on my results, like for my own personal labs, like it said, so they still do it.
I do like hematology research, and I see it on every single lab report I look at, like every single one. And I'm like, why is this on here? It gets me so upset.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And then she was talking about like birth, I think, and she was saying like just birth equity, and how they thought that like other races have different pelvises. And I was like, what? What is going on? And so yeah, there's just like so much, like I don't know, like medicine needs to be decolonized basically. And I feel like it's this whole biological basis to race is like ridiculous and really needs to like be gone. And I thought it was really interesting as she was saying that a lot of studies have like race, maybe they'll like compare different races or whatever. And then Dr. Jones, I think her name was, she said, oh, like why is there no measure of racism? None of these like studies have like a measure for racism. And she was talking about how like socially identified race actually is a better indicator for your outcome than your own identified race. And they're doing a lot of research now with like Latino populations because they have I guess because Mexico, for instance, like Mexico is really diverse. And so there are some like Latinx people who look more like white passing than other Latinx people. So they're doing a lot of research about that. And I think preliminary studies have found that it does, like, if you are perceived as white passing, it does change like your outcomes versus if you are perceived as like Latino or Black or anything like indigenous. So yeah, I thought that that was cool. We're sort of at the end of time, but if anyone else has any last thoughts, feel free to share.
Or like, I see a couple of names. I know some of you guys have not attended. If you do want to attend in the future, like what do you hope to gain too for those of you guys who haven't, in case you want to share that too?
Yeah, Jayla, I second your point in the chat. Oh, Sarah, you led a civic, sorry, I'm reading the chat now. You led a civic session on microaggressions. So good. Actually, like, I learned from that session and I thought to myself that even like myself included, I need to do more training on like how to respond to microaggressions, because I sort of think that like I just ignore them, or I'm like, oh, whatever, like sad, but moving on. Like, I don't know. I always feel like there's nothing I can do about it. And like I have no control over that. But I think that like it would be a good skill to like learn how to respond and like educate people rather than just ignore it and like let it continue on. But yeah, so if there's nothing else, I am sorry. Like, I know that I'm super grateful for you guys for coming. I know it's like a really stressful week this week for a lot of people. So thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts. Stay tuned for our events soon. We have an empathetic listening workshop next Wednesday at 4 p.m. We have our annual mental health panel on April 20th. Be sure to mark that. I think it's going to be super good. We have a Black Professionals in Medicine panel where we're collaborating with BSU on April 10th. So just be sure to keep those dates in mind. And we'll also be posting on our Instagram. So be sure to give our Instagram a follow if you haven't already. And if you're not in a GroupMe, join our GroupMe. But if there's nothing else, thank you all for coming today. And I'm so happy that you guys had a really great AMEC experience. And it was really great hearing everything that you guys had to say.
Thank you.
Good night.